Welcome to Lydia's Books. I am Lydia, and today I'm going to talk about some of the books that I've been reading lately and what I'm going to be reading in August, which is all Stephen King all the time. If you follow RG's Devilship, Roya has started a readathon this month, all in August, and I put a poll up on Patreon and here on YouTube to choose what author, because I have a lot of collections I could have chosen from, I suppose the proper way. But Stephen King won out, and I counted them the other day, something like 60 different Stephen King properties, and that's counting novellas, all right? So I've probably read, 40 Stephen King novels in my time, and these ones have been sitting on my shelf. This was from the backward bookcase. This was supposed to be on the backward bookcase, and this one is just one I keep forgetting to read. So we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about some of the books that I'm reading right now. I finished reading Full Brutal by Kristopher Triana. You'll recall on my last big video where I talked about all the extreme horror books on my shelf. This was one I had just picked up and absolutely devoured it, loved it. I really like Kristopher Triana. He has a new book out recently he has a book that's won a Splatterpunk Award just today or yesterday. Very amazing writer. If you're new to extreme horror or splatterpunk literature, definitely give Kristopher Triana a go. Never been more excited about the genre because of writers like this. Full Brutal follows Kim, a cheerleader who is disenfranchised with her popular, affluent lifestyle. She has a lot of time on her own hands. She's a virgin. She's been very prim and proper all of her life, and something snaps in her mind and makes her decide to just go for it. Let's start murdering people. Let's lose my virginity. Let's go full brutal. And I absolutely loved it. It's really rough. If you're not into extreme horror, then it's going to be a little bit much for you, I'm sure. But yeah, be forewarned. It's very explicit. I think what I like the most about Kim's descent into madness is it's very calculated. And she does have some missteps. It's not one of those like perfect psycho things either, where she just makes all of these maniacal plans and they all go perfectly. A lot of stuff falls apart in her face, and she's a new killer and a new psycho, right? So she doesn't know how this is gonna go, and it's pretty interesting. A lot of people might say, well, she wouldn't have all that freedom to get away with these things, and her father spends an awful lot of time away, and she has like unending income, but all of that is set up just because of her actual lifestyle. So I think that it works pretty well. It's a fun exploration of insanity from a teenage girl's point of view, so I liked it quite a lot. It was very different from Gone to See the Riverman, which is far more dark. This is a lot more fun. So if you like a little bit of bizarre insanity to your extreme horror, this will be fun too. After that, I read Toadhead by Andrew Lyall, a fellow booktuber here, and I encountered two toads in my patio the day before I was reading it, and while I was reading it. I didn't get a photo of the second toad, but yeah, a toad nevertheless. He did not hop on my head, thank God. Now this is a really weird, bizarre story that is based sort of loosely on the story of Ed Gein in a way. I'll have to ask Andrew about this, but yeah, it takes place in Plainfield, and it has somebody who's a bit of a mama's boy. And he's poking around one day and realizes there's a toad on his head, and the toad won't leave, and it keeps wanting to nip his fingers, and he can't have it eating his fingers, so he better find it some fingers to feed on, and it just escalates from there. It's extremely brutal. I really liked it quite a lot. It's quite dark, really fun, a short, sharp shock. It was a really good little book, and there being sort of maybe a joke, I don't know if Andrew's joking about The Bride of Toadhead as a sequel, but I'd like to see a sequel to this in any way. I think the thing that's captured the best in Toadhead is that sort of isolation but not wanting to be bothered by people, and how someone could go on for a decade or more living alone without the townsfolk really bothering them. If you enjoyed that isolationist sort of us and them mentality from something like We've Always Lived in the Castle, Toadhead has quite a bit of that too. So it's not just a loner living on the edge of a graveyard. It's much more than that, and he accomplishes a lot of this in a very short book. So yeah, highly enjoyable, highly recommended Toadhead by Andrew Lyall. I'm halfway through reading a lot of books, and one of them is Tales Told Around a Strange Fire. I was really getting into this, and then I started reading other books on top of it, and I shouldn't have. I should finish this. Bud Templin sent this along. Thank you very much, Bud. It's very cool. And the Strange Fire is sort of like this weird job of people in the future that they have to feed things to this fire. And as they are standing around this fire, as these fire keepers, they tell stories to pass the time while they're feeding this fire. This is strange fire, strange things like full-on windows and like couches or whatever. Like it seems to be like industrial waste or waste of the cities above. I'm not really sure. Because it is very vague, because the point is the stories that they're telling around the fire, which make up the short stories within this. So the framing device is a little larger than most framing devices. It doesn't take place just at the beginning and end. It's in between each story, and I really like that. And these are stories typically that have been told by these people because they've encountered them or been told them themselves around fires. So it's a really neat premise, and the stories are really cool too. As I pointed out previously, it's got this dog and the fire and a rocket ship, so it does straddle horror, fantasy, sci-fi really well. If you like all of those genres, this is a good one to pick up. I had finished listening to The Girl in the Creek by Wendy N. Wagner, and I liked the premise. There were things about the book I didn't like, and as mentioned previously, I'm not going to get into that because it does tend to be a little bit of a negative perception that I had from different aspects of the book. And I think what the biggest problem was is that it should have been marketed as young adult, and it didn't appeal to me. And a lot of other readers, from what I've gathered, feel the same way. So it's really unfortunate because had I been the intended audience, I'd probably have a lot more fun things to say. But it does have a cool premise, and that is what drew me to it, and that's what kept me reading, because had it been any other book written less well, I would have been an instant DNF as soon as I encountered some of the more YA things about this book. But I did keep reading, and maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe because my dissatisfaction grew with the book as I read, not because it's a bad book or badly written. It's got a good premise, it's got a good story, it's got interesting characters, but the story's just not for me. So there's my capsule review of a book I didn't really enjoy. I don't like reviewing books I didn't like, right? I'd rather just not read them. And I tend to choose books based on the subgenre or summary because I know I'll like them, much like Judith Sonnet, No One Rides for Free. This is a extreme horror novel that has such great acclaim, and Judith Sonnet is a horror author that I really want to buy more of just to support her work, for one, and because it comes so highly recommended for 2, and for 3, because it's on the Extreme Horror Lit starter pack list that I'm slowly working my way through, and this is one on the list. So very excited to get to it, and I love this screaming man with a knife cover because I'm a big serial killer horror fan from way back, and this sort of insanity is what draws me in. Jody was driving her children to college when the man got in their car. Uninvited, unwanted, and unhinged. The man has no name, but he does have a gun, a knife, and a bag of toys. What starts as a forced ride into the desert escalates into a disturbing series of crimes and assaults. Jody and her children will soon pray for a death. To avoid dying of shock, keep repeating, it's only a book, it's only a book, it's only a book. So yes, No One Rides for Free. That whole saying, ass, cash, or grass, no one rides for free kind of thing, I think that's where it comes from. It's a short novella, so I'll be able to rip through that, but I have to hold off. I can't read this book or this book. I have to read Stephen King books. This I picked up for $5.99. It was such a steal. It's another one of those flopsy, easy reading, kind of almost airport style paperbacks. I'm not really interested in buying a lot of Grady Hendrix until he writes something, I guess, maybe a little more brutal. I don't think he'll ever go this far, but, something a little less light. But hey, next time I want something light, Riley Sager style stuff, then I think that How to Sell a Haunted House will be on the list. And I do like a book with a house on the cover, right? I also like a book that's $5.99, pretty cool. So to All in August. I have watched RG's Devil Ship BookTube channel for years and years and years. I think that she's been on the channel for more than 10 years, and I absolutely love her content, even though there's been some times when she's not as consistent in uploading. Like, a lot of us have lives, right? So it's not something that I worry too much about. It's a channel I'll never unsubscribe from. And when she proposed her first readathon, all in August, a very chill readathon where you read one author that you've been meaning to get to through the month. Whether it's one book or all 3 or 10 books, doesn't even matter. It's something that where you read to one author all month. I want to finish up the half books I'm reading right now before I start this, but it's already August 2nd, right? I better get a wiggle on, as they say. We've got Stephen King Revival, a book that I've wanted to read for quite some time. A lot of people say it would be right up my alley. Ever since reading Bloodkin by Steve Rasnick-Tem, I really like that sort of Christian cult thing, and I think Revival will be the book for me. Fairy Tale by Stephen King, which a lot of people said it wasn't very good. It wasn't like the sort of Stephen King that they'd been waiting for, but I'll give it a go. If I don't like it, even though it's a very, very big book, if I don't like it, I will definitely put it down and opt for The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which I always avoided because it's a sport theme sort of thing. I wasn't interested in sport theme things. It's a very short book, and I've been told that the sport theme thing doesn't matter. So yeah, very excited to get to that. August is a really good time for his books as well, because I find a lot of them take place in the sweltering summertime. And that's why we do Stephen King-a-palooza over on the Dead Air podcast. Every summer we pick a couple Stephen King movies, because it's always a good time to read or watch Stephen King, right? There were other authors on the list, like Brian Lumley and V.C. Andrews, and I even thought Rex Miller. Maybe I could read all the Rex Miller books, but Stephen King won in the polls, so that's what I'm reading. I'm very excited, and I almost want to read The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon first to set me up for these chunkier books, but Revival will be where we start, just because it seems like it's probably summery. With Revival tents touring around in the summertime, I think that's how they do it. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated. Right now I'm in the middle of listening to a audiobook on my commute as well. And it's actually become very interesting to me. Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward, or Catriona Ward. I'm not sure how people pronounce that. Katrina is how I always want to pronounce it, so correct me if I'm wrong. Ms. Ward, if you're out there, you tell me for sure how to pronounce your name. Looking Glass Sound is a gorgeous cover. I love this sort of like skull cave mouth looking cover since it came out, and I wanted to get to it when I saw it was available as an audiobook. I waited like 2 weeks before it came available, and here we are, really enjoying it. Someone had commented that after the last half they didn't enjoy it. I'm enjoying it more and more as it goes along. I just am a fan of her writing and the sort of twisty-turny plots. And not twisty-turny in a Shyamalanian sense, but twisty-turny as far as organic human life goes. And I'm really enjoying this story too. Following somebody from youth to adulthood as well is always very interesting. And this angle of them being writers that evolves later on in the book, I really am enjoying that. And I'm also most of the way through Nave of Graves by S.J. Shank. Wow. I am very interested in this book, and I want to review it and talk about it more soon. I picked up the ebook, even though the physical copy is available. I'm going to pick that up as well. Not only because I want a signed copy eventually, but it really works well for me. Being a person who plays a lot of Diablo and maybe doesn't, delve in the fantasy realm too much unless there's a very strong horror angle, I'm really enjoying this fantasy. It's a low fantasy, I believe, because the low magic, because it's not like wizards and canes and wands and stuff like that. It's more like runes and talismans and wards. I don't know the lingo of fantasy and magic, but I do understand the lingo of horror. So when it comes to somebody dealing with a graveyard and living in a graveyard and warding all of the evil spirits away from that graveyard. That's something that I can definitely get behind. The character of Jeppo is really cool too. It's hard to put a pin in what this person would look like or smell like, because they spend a lot of time living sort of a hermit's lifestyle, even though they're on the fringes of the society within the town, being somebody that works for the city, right? I can sort of appreciate that, having worked municipally before for a short time, but I digress. It is a very well written, very approachable book as far as fantasy goes. And like I said, playing a lot of Diablo, it feels like I'm on the edges of Kiovashad in Diablo 4, or it feels like I'm walking around and discovering a village in Diablo 2. It is very, very fitting into that horror fantasy world that those games straddle. I've not played Bloodborne. I've seen a lot of Bloodborne being played, and those Dark Souls style games are where this world lives as well. So I think that it really appeals to me on that aspect. As far as books like it, Between Two Fires is a book I've seen recommended a lot for people who are fans of that genre. So I think I'm going to have to read that after. But I've also got Shank's book Mountain Fast to talk about soon too. So if that appeals to you and you are into sort of quiet horror with an occult angle or religious angle that is in pre-religious times, set in sort of a slipstream universe very similar to our own, definitely check out Nave of Graves by S.J. Shank. He had a signing at Little Ghosts in Toronto just the other day. So I'm going to be wrapping up all those books that I'm halfway done reading before I get into all of my Stephen King reading that I'm doing for All in August. I think it's a brilliant idea for a readathon. And as you recall, I've only recently done a different readathon, Reading in Rumps. It was hosted by Regina at Regina's Haunted Library and Alex the Bookubus, and I loved that. I absolutely loved that. It got me reading a whole lot of books. So for All in August, it'll be kind of chill because it's only those 3 books, and like I said, I'm kind of busy and hot and humid lately, so maybe I won't find as much reading time. I'll wrap up those half-read books as I go though, sort of like a sneaking way to read around All in August for the first week, but then I'll be all in on Stephen King for the rest of the month. And then starting in September, if there's anything you think I ought to be reading, definitely let me know in the comments below. If you've read some of these books that we've talked about here today, also let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and have an spooky day.